What happened at your work which caused multiple people to all quit at once? They laid off half the company with no warning. This included a gentleman who was less than a year from retirement and had been there for 35 plus years. The company was shocked when half the remaining people abandoned ship shortly thereafter. At previous and final employers, they did a round of layoffs. Now this is Europe, so you need a reason to fire people with a contract, and they said it was for economic reasons. So naturally, like rats on a ship, a massive exodus began. Everyone was looking for a new job. Management didn't expect this, so a month and a half later, they released their Christmas speech, calling for fresh young talent, and asking people to stick together like family when they fired 30 people just 6 weeks ago. Come January, the second wave of the exodus was well underway. This one happened mid-January. It got really awkward when they tried calling back the people that they'd laid off to replace the people who had left. Well, when you cite economic reasons, don't be surprised when the rest of the staff get nervous that the company may be tanking and leave. Yeah, probably not the best idea to tell your employees. Our company is failing and we're firing a bunch of you. I guess it ended up being better for the employees though, since they could plan for what's coming. The company consistently outpaced competing firms and found itself emerging as one of the industry leading agencies. This was also a California tech firm, so shorts, flip-flops, beers at lunch, getting high on the roof were all rather common. But we were rapidly growing, and the atmosphere location made us a hot ticket for talent. Anyway, CFO and CMO cashed out and the CEO decided to totally remodel the company by making it far more corporate. On top of all of this, they implemented unattainable goals and removed our work from home policy. The final straw was they removed our rather generous vacation policy and replaced it with unlimited vacation, which was a facade for you can take as much vacation as you want if we approve it. Like 1/4 of the company quit and immediately landed at better jobs. Also profit tanked. Unlimited vacation is such a scam. When a company gives limited vacation time, they have to pay you for days you accrued but didn't take when you leave the company, unless they give unlimited vacation. In that case, they don't have to give you shit. The only time I was ever denied vacation is when I worked for a company with unlimited vacation time. Fuck that. I worked at an unlimited PTO place for a while. At first it was actually really good, as long as you were getting your shit done. Nobody really cared. I took a week for my wedding and 2 for my honeymoon within the span of a couple months, plus another trip later in the year for a long weekend, plus a few sick days. Every year, it got a little worse. Then the recommendation became 3 weeks a year. Then it started being not a good time to take a day. Then I got in legit trouble for taking 2 days to catch up on doctor and dentist visits, and was asked to space them out next time. Now I work for the government. 15 days vacation and 1 day for each year off service, caps at 14 years, sorry, and 12 sick days a year. No complaints. I can imagine. If I ever worked at an unlimited place, I'd feel guilty about taking 4 weeks off. I'd blame myself for being lazy. Or I would take time off just to go spend a day in the park doing random shit, and probably would get demotivated to work. But now, at my current job, I saved up my holidays, and I'm taking a guilt-free 4-week vacation with enough days left for the Christmas season, birthdays and all other random days. It is glorious. Fuck unlimited. Hail generous boxes. I was getting married and let the company know 6 months in advance. Oh, I don't need to know right now. Just ask closer to that date. Hey, I need days coming up next month. Sorry, someone else requested those days so we need you here. Fuck off. My brother's company switched to it. My brother, I've been having some medical issues. I'd like to take off 3 weeks in August to rest and recover. His boss, that's not what unlimited means. Turned out our owner was keeping the social security money taken from our paychecks. And yes, he was caught. You can pull that scam for about 4-5 years. Really insane the lack of communication between the IRS and SS. Can confirm. I used to withhold taxes for babysitters for my kids, because you're required to if they are over 18. Had a payroll service to do all of the calculations. Gave them pay stubs, the whole 9. 4 years after I stopped doing this, I get a letter from SSA stating that they never received one quarterly filing for one of my kids' former babysitters and would I please forward it along. They gave me a summary of the reported wages. They were close, but off by a few bucks in either direction for the years before and after the one they were missing. I dug out the documents and found out that the reason for the confusion was that the payroll company accidentally filed on the previous year's form, pre-printed year on the side. I called SSA where they basically just said don't worry about that, we just need a number. The IRS is terrible about providing the totals to us, so I gave it to them verbally. They wrote it down and I haven't heard from them since. That was an honesty check. If you gave bad numbers then they would have started a full investigation. Both the IRS and SS can be really lazy. My god. How much time did he get for that? Also, did you owe on that? You don't owe. It's considered theft of a trust fund by the owner. He can be charged just like he stole it from the federal government. Because he did. Because it's a trust fund. It pierces the corporate veil and he can be charged personally, regardless of how many shell core or LLCs are protecting him. The employee is basically just another victim of the theft. It'd be like if a retailer stole the sales tax you paid. The government wouldn't chase you down and make you pay sales tax again. The owner died and his idiot son took over and decided that the company didn't make him enough money and started to implement cost-cutting measures like turning off the AC in the building. My work does something similar. The air is turned off from about 5 PM to 7 AM. It takes until noon for the air systems to clear out the overnight moisture and stale air, so we are left with a couple hours of useful account. As an HVAC guy this makes me cringe. Without a doubt your AC system was designed to handle an overnight load, and is specified to run efficiently 24/7. Yeah sure you'll ostensibly save money on operating costs by shutting it off overnight but you're going to end up paying more in the long run since things are going to break down faster and will need to be serviced and replaced more frequently. Actually that doesn't make me cringe, more money for me. When I was 16, I worked in the concession stand at a minor league baseball stadium. Minimum wage at the time was $5.15 HR. This job paid $8, and it was always in the evenings so it was perfect work for a high school student. The only bad thing was our management was terrible. The main manager would throw toddler tantrums about once a shift over stupid bullshit, like not ordering enough of a specific beer she did the ordering, or running out of pre-cut lemons for tea. One night the stadium was running a promotion and it was incredibly busy, easily 2-3x the normal volume of customers. We were all working our asses off handling multiple roles each with absolutely no downtime. Although we all cleaned as we worked, nobody had a chance to do thorough cleaning for the whole shift because of the never-ending horde of hungry baseball fans. The manager showed up 3-4 hours late per usual and throws the biggest fucking tantrum ever over the unswept floor. Finally, she announces listen up you lazy fucks. Minimal work gets minimal pay. Everybody is being paid minimum wage tonight because you slobs won't clean up anything. Both of our bartenders and the bar back quit on the spot, which caused a chain reaction. We all took off our aprons and hats to leave. She blocked the exit and was red in the face from screaming. So one of the cooks climbed out of one of the big serving windows where we served customers. So I did the same and most of the staff followed. Bear in mind that this all happened in front of like 200 plus customers. Of course, my final paycheck got lost so I had to file a wage theft complaint with the Texas Workforce Commission. How'd that wage theft complaint go down? Sounds like it'd be super satisfying just to slip the envelope into the letterbox. Filed the complaint, submitted my clock in and clock out receipts for the week. We got paid weekly, and previous pay stubs to verify my pay rate. After like 3 weeks, I was contacted by the person handling my claim that my previous employer had mailed me a check for the whole amount I was owed plus a penalty. The check arrived within a few days. The penalty was $25 if I recall correctly. Later that year, the same employer refused to provide my W-2 for tax filing so I filed a complaint with the IRS and used my pay stubs with a special form to complete my taxes. I don't know what happened regarding that but that lady's life imploded for non-work related reasons. She got caught cheating on her husband, then got caught faking cancer for sympathy. Owners retired. They were literally the greatest people. Both very sweet, but kept the place running like a well-oiled machine. They took pretty good care of us and their restaurant. When they left, they gave the restaurant over to their nephew, who at the time was a busboy waiter. Kind of standoffish. Didn't really interact with us too much. A bit lazy at times, but for the most part did his shit and went home. He seemed okay. Until he got the power of being the owner, he fired 4 people, including 2 of the 4 cooks, and 2 of the 3 dishwashers, literally that same day, on a Friday night just before the dinner rush, all because he didn't like their attitude. He refused to allow people to take vacation that they'd already requested and gotten confirmed by the original owners, would change the schedule randomly without telling anyone, and then scream at people when they missed a shift or came in late because of it. Had refused to replenish the kitchen until we were literally already out of things, then take forever to put in the orders. He showed up randomly and would drink at the bar, for free of course because he was the owner, and then bring in all his buddies to drink with him. Together they'd get way out of hand and grab at women and try to start fights. Within the first month of him being the owner, over half the staff had quit, usually walking out literally in the middle of their shifts, after being screamed at. They'd basically throw down their aprons and tell everyone else that they were so sorry but they couldn't do it anymore. After the last cook, this big dude who usually kept the kitchen laughing and running at a decent pace, started crying in the middle of his shit and dropped everything he was doing after the boss came and yelled at him for being too slow and making slop. Then walked out. The rest of us just bailed along with him. 4 months later the place was closed. His aunt and uncle were absolutely furious and devastated that had run the business they'd built up for over 30 years into the ground. I realized I forgot to add that one of the 4 people he fired initially was the senior manager who was supposed to show him what they hadn't. But being their nephew, he did do extra stuff and they showed him what he should have been doing whenever they were there. Officially though, his job was just being the busboy or waiter for a few years before this was decided. But on the whole, yeah, they should not have just up and left to retire without giving him a few months and training wheels to make sure he could actually hack it. None of us thought he'd be like that though. When they reached out to try and find out what had happened, they moved out of state. They were absolutely horrified to hear how he behaved towards the staff. But by that point it was too late to do anything about it. Anytime I've seen a mass exodus, it was because of poor management. I've never seen it organized. Just a bunch of employees independently deciding to quit in the same month because the management was so bad. Yeah, that's the case on 9 times out of 10. People don't leave jobs, they leave shitty bosses. It seems to work the other way too. Given the demands and responsibilities placed upon me, if I didn't have such a cool boss, I would have been out of there years ago. I was so happy when that happened to me. A manager I worked with before called me asking about one of the people in my team, saying he has a job opening there and thinks she'd be a good fit but wanted my opinion. It paid 15% more for about the same workload and gave her much better long-term stability, so I gave her a big recommendation, because honestly she'd be perfect for the job, and her phone number so they'd contact her. She decided to stay because she's super happy here and loves coming here. Best employee I ever had, TBH. I don't even do anything special. I just treat my people as I want my boss to treat me. It's not that hard, FFS. I used to work at a McDonald's, and we had a terrible manager who hated a lot of people working there. Everyone else hated him too, but no one wanted to call him out on his shit and quit. I was the first to do it, because I requested 2 weeks off in August of that year, about 3 months in advance. My family likes to plan our summer vacations early on. When August came around, he had my schedule set up for all of August off except for those specific 2 weeks. There was no way that he could have misinterpreted my request. When I got my schedule, I stormed into the restaurant, called him out on everything, and then quit on the spot. About 2 weeks after that, I heard from one of my work friends that 5 other people had enough and quit as well. I kind of felt good to be the first. What makes a good manager at these types of places is recognizing that 95% of their minimum wage employees could go get an equal paying job on their lunch break and start that day. Your store isn't special. The only personnel management you have to do as a GM is to make them want to work there. Do just enough to motivate them to make your store successful and then spend the rest of your energy making it a place they want to work. Make them happy and they'll naturally become better employees. Oh fucking boy. I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings for a few years as a line cook. 2 different stores, same fucking pay. It was the type of work where you ask for a raise and they scoff and say yeah, me too. Anyways, I had been pretty dead set on quitting sooner or later. Our kitchen was very small. Most people ended up closing 4-5 days a week with doubles on the weekends, while still attending school full time as it was a college town. On Super Bowl fucking Sunday, a useless co-worker who ducked out in the bathroom most of the shift finally stopped showing, and in response the managerial staff delegated closing to my pal Jay. Dude was a fucking delight to be around, hands down the best co-worker ever. Jay had told them that due to being a full-time student, he no longer wanted to be first in last out, 4 PM to 12 AM, 1 AM on the weekends. They basically told him to go fuck himself, and that they don't have any more shifts for him. Immediately, me and one other cook walked to the office and quit on the spot. Buffalo Wild Wings lost 4 cooks on Super Bowl Sunday, leaving them with 7 full-time students on the schedule. It was a managerial shit show. New management. In a month, 4 kitchen staff quit, leaving me to be the only original kitchen staff hire from the previous manager. She completely changed the vibe of the workplace. No one was happy. No one felt like talking or listening to music or being friendly. It was robotic. It astounds me how many managers just don't get this or don't care. I've worked at a few places with an extremely high turnover rate and you can diagnose the problem in a day. Allowing your staff to be friendly, have conversations and relax at points throughout the day is a long-term investment that usually pays off. While the alternative is having workers that get a lot done in a day but quit by the end of the first week. I recently worked evenings as a recycling sorter. You stand in front of conveyor belt picking off plastic and cans. Talking is frowned upon. No leaning, no music, basically nothing to break up the mind-numbing work day. But of course the problem was everyone is lazy and had nothing to do with the fact they make the job as unpleasant as possible. I did landscape construction. The cheap-ass owner kept taking bigger and bigger projects while never hiring more help. We were all overwhelmed, stressed, and anxious as hell. One of our foremen quit and I followed suit a few days later. 2 more guys quit the next day. He was down to 3 guys for the obscene amount of work he wanted to do. Of course everything gets way behind schedule, but he's convinced it's not his fault at all. He went out of business less than a year later. I once worked at a company that ramped up from 4 to 8 people in a small shop. Things were busy but the owner kept making rookie mistakes like not buy material in bulk because he didn't like seeing a big bill all at once. Fast forward a year and paychecks start to bounce. Then he fired the 3 guys that suck around so they could collect unemployment, while he paid the difference under the table. Super shady. He ended up selling out to a competitor. Not sure what he is up to now. I was hired by the new owners to replace the existing manager. I was under the impression that he was moving on to another job somewhere. So after about 4 days I ask him where he's headed and if he's excited. He just looks blankly at me and says, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm just training you as the assistant manager, right?" The look I gave him must have been a great tip-off because he got up and walked into one of the new owner's offices. After about 30 seconds they were screaming at each other, then he just storms out of the office, grabs his stuff, gives me the finger, and leaves. Over the next few days I'm trying to calm things with the employees. They're not faulting me, but now have a very bad taste in their mouths about the new ownership. Over about a 7-10 day time period my team shrank from 15 people down to 3. I hobbled along with that the best I could while we tried to hire new people, but the new owners were offering so little we had trouble finding people. After 3 months or so of that I started to get fed up and overwhelmed, and when the owners started to get on me about missed deadlines I had it. We were still only at 5 people, 2 of which were brand new and still training. They didn't allow me to refuse work or push deadlines out. They expected the same output as a 15-person team. So after my 3rd day in a row of being berated for missing a deadline that was impossible to make, I quit. I'm the manager of a retail store and I had found out a cashier was stealing product by scamming reward card benefits. I came up with a detailed incident report to present to this employee and I was under the assumption it was just her. After I confronted her in a reasonable manner, she freaked out and got really angry and quit on the spot. She was using fake accounts instead of using a customer's reward card to get herself points and redeem them for product gift cards. So the customers weren't getting the points they are owed, which is a headache for me if they notice and complain. The next day every other cashier called me and quit, and after thinking WTF just happened, I found out they were all in on it and were using this lady's fake card on their shifts too. So I'm down 4 cashiers and I have 1 left. This same day my last remaining cashier disappeared for 20 minutes. Turns out she was in the bathroom with another employee doing the nasty. She quits because her dad is a cop and doesn't want to find out she got fired for this, and she also asked me if she should go to urgent care because she did take her tampon out before they did it and she couldn't find it. The guy also quit because he didn't care and was moving anyway. I was down to literally managers only. So the first part is the mass exodus and the last part was just the can you believe this shit. I was working for a very large IT company. Before the tech bubble burst, we had a meeting with our new director and the VP. They were tired of people complaining about things that should be changed at the job and how they managed people. So they sat around 200 of us down in our auditorium. And the director said she didn't want to hear any more complaints on how she was running things, and if we didn't like them there was the door, and that there was no way we'd leave such a great job. Well, there was a mass exodus and probably close to 50 people left within 2 months. She and the VP were auged and given 0 reports. They were gone after a round of layoffs happened shortly after. I thought you were gonna say that it happened on the spot. Like she said in a rhetorical way, if you don't like it then there's the door. And then to her shock the entire auditorium stands up and files out. I'm gonna pretend that's what happened because it's funnier. I read 50 people left within 2 minutes, LOL.